I definitely wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for the outreach that New Adventures provide. And to think that I met the team when I was 17, 18, and then I'm working for them when I'm 21 is just absolutely crazy.
My name's Cameron and I'm a dancer with New Adventures.
I am Stephen Murray and I am a dancer for New Adventures.
My name is Jack William Parry and I was part of the Swan Lake tour, which finished of February this year.
I did Highland Fling back in 2016 as part of Trinity Laban's historical project. And I was lucky enough that my year, New Adventures was one of the options, which was the most incredible and eye-opening experience ever. And I also got to play the role of James, which is one of the main characters in Highland Fling. And that was a massive challenge and a massive push in itself, because I was a very non-confident, shy dancer when I first started my training, because I started dancing quite late.
I performed in Highland Fling in my final year at Central School of Ballet for our Ballet Central tour, where I played the role of James. I think what I learned from playing James was how hard I would have to work once graduating college to be able to perform at that level and that standard professionally and full-time.
Highland Fling holds such a special memory and place in my heart. A time when I was having a lot of fun and things were very exciting. It's such a magical piece, a really emotional piece. The movement is so beautiful. I took part in a creation of Highland Fling 5 years ago at DanceEast CAT in Ipswich, which is where I trained before I trained professionally. It's like pre-vocational training. It was my graduation piece, so we did a 20-minute excerpt of the second half. For me, it was really a turning point in everything I'd done up until that point as a dancer. It's all about the storytelling, and that's what I absolutely loved, and it really opened my eyes to what I wanted to do. It was really a catalyst for me to kind of open up that side of my mind to think, okay, this is something I could potentially enjoy doing.
And working with Kerry and James on that was incredible, because they just taught me so much. And it's not just going on stage and performing, it's doing all this background research of what the character's been through, who the character is, where they're going and who they're interacting with during the show. It's telling a story basically through movement and through the show, and that shaped the rest of my training actually, because when I went into my third year, I really went in thinking I don't just have to be a dancer, I now have to work on my acting and combining the two to become a storyteller as well as just a dancer.
I think as well, from working so close with the company and working with Matt and working with Etta, it really made me realise how much I wanted to work for the company even more.
And I vividly remember my parents saying it was the best thing they'd seen me do out of everything. Personally, as a dancer, it was the most fun I'd had as well in a long time. Being able to act and tell a story and a narrative on stage was just something that I'd never done before. And I really thrived. I loved it so much. After I did the piece in 2015, I went on to train at Trinity Laban in London for 3 years. I made an active decision to stay in touch with the company as much as possible, or as much as I could, because I was really interested in the work, and after getting a little taste for it, I knew that it was something I wanted to run after. At Laban, New Adventures do workshops quite frequently, so every year when they would visit, I would take the workshops. Even if it was a workshop in a different year group, I would ask if I could join in. It was then shortly after that I got asked to do a new project of that time, which was 2017, called Swan School.
It was the hardest week ever. It was so draining and such hard work, but it was so amazing to be able to work with the company again.
A 2-week intensive in 2 separate weeks, one in October and one in February. You would get your own number as a swan, a track almost, as we do in the show. That would mean that you'd have your own formation, your own space.
Because I knew I always wanted to work with New Adventures, and when I started dancing, I was massively inspired by Swan Lake, and that's why I wanted to dance, basically, like lots of young men. So getting all these opportunities to work on it and push towards achieving that goal of working for the company was amazing.
So it really felt like we were rehearsing for the show, and it started to feel really surreal. And the more I did it, the more I knew I wanted to do it for real. I was just absolutely captivated.
From the Swan school, we then went to the audition, and I didn't get the job the second time either. I wasn't lucky enough. I got put on the waiting list, which was still amazing, and I still thought was a massive achievement. And then I think it was when Swan Lake was 4 or 5 months into their tour, I was on holiday with my best friend in Fuerteventura, and I got an email saying, "We're looking for a replacement because someone's leaving. We'd love to see you. When can we see you?" So I flew home the next day from my holiday, which I was 2 days into.
Since doing Highland Fling in college, I then went on to audition for the Student Associate Scheme for the production of The Red Shoes, which I was lucky enough to be chosen for. And that gave me the opportunity to perform with the company across the UK in The Red Shoes for I think around 6 months it was. I then went on to join the company full-time for the Cinderella tour before joining the Romeo and Juliet company, where I understudied Romeo, and then finally rejoining the Red Shoes company earlier this year for the second time.
It just proves that when you make these connections with the company, they don't forget, which is really nice to know and really nice to think, because who would have thought that when I was on holiday I would then be in Swan Lake a few weeks later. It was just insane. It was so funny. Highland Fling was just the first stepping stone of getting to where I am now, and I think without that I wouldn't have had half the opportunities that I have had now.